Got a bit of emergency right now. Nicholas got cut by Mr. Pig.
Mauled by Mr. Pig.
He got mauled by Mr. Pig. So today's upper push. And this is the push session that we weren't able to train together yet. So you might hear Nick talk about a lot of body cue or movement cues with movements and body mechanics, because I haven't done any incline pressing with him, or actually basically most of the movements. So he might take you through a bunch of stuff, but we'll start with single arm, pull over, then we'll probably go into laterals and then get into chest work. So it's a chest focused day today, so.
Yeah, battle scars to start the session.
We're talking about comes like Nick got mauled by
a wild Mr. Pig.
Yeah.
Never makes you happy.
What do you think I'm going to tell you? Palm up. Squeeze your hand. Turn the knuckles down. Better.
Mr. Pig!
Step back. A little. Yeah. Turn 30 degrees. Yep. A little bit. Let all this wrap around. Some flex here a little. Yep. Pull around and get tall. Forward and around. Pull and tall. Yep. Pull, get tall. There you go. That's how it's done. Yes. Ending position, get that wrist in your pocket. There. Yes. Some setup tips for this. I like having this in before pressing, because actually both the lat pullover and then this are in here for excess volume. And it's going to be helpful for these target muscle groups that we're trying to train with them. Both of us, Tavish and I, need more lats. Lat pullover in the beginning of a push session is a good idea. Varying those positions that we did with straight vertical and then a horizontal pull tends to help with actually getting full scapular motion and gaining the ability to access the ranges we're going to have in pressing, and then also be able to control them and resist the natural tendencies that we have in these big patterns. Natural tendencies on pressing for most people is to have uncontrolled protraction and retraction, the inability to control how many degrees of either one you're going to be falling into, or how much you want to stay in one or the other, depending on what setup you're doing. And then at the same time, you do any pressing where you're at a high incline, an incline, or an overhead, most people have a really hard time keeping their shoulders from elevating and then having this outward elbow flare that comes with that, because you don't have a good stable base for where your scaps will sit. And so we also both need side delts. So does pretty much everybody. You can never have too much. And so having something like this, which would be a cable Y raise, laying on the ground, helps for that as well. Where the lat pullover is having us resisted and having us fight in this direction, where it's trying to pull us this way into the overhead or cross body. This is loading us in the opposite direction, where it's trying to pull here with the lat pull down, pull us up into this. This is trying to pull us down. So now we had the passive work where the load was getting us into these positions, and we had to access them and control them in the opposite direction. Now we're having to get ourselves there by our own volition, which then allows us to have better control over all of the stabilizing muscle groups that are going to be helping us in our pressing, and with prime mover's ability, because those stability muscles are doing their job better. So further than that, setting this up, the reason why I do the Y raise laying down on the ground rather than using a bench or standing is honestly because it has less moving parts. If you're standing in free space, it kind of makes it hard for you to standardize your positioning. You end up have a little bit of a backwards lean, or you're a little bit more forward, or where these are set up. It's just way too many moving parts. And then the same thing with a bench. You really want to expend the energy to drag a bench over here and figure out exactly the angle that you have to have the bench at, and then the angle that this has to be with its height, and then how far it is out away from you, and then figure out where you're going to put the bench, how far away relatively from this, and then left to right to get it perfect. It's way too many moving parts. It's not useful. So instead, because the load that you're using on this isn't that substantial, if you weigh more than a wet dog, you're going to be able to do anything you're going to do for this movement laying down, and your body won't get pulled up. And so your body itself doesn't require a bench for you to be stable here. You just lay yourself on the ground, you have your position relatively repeatable quite easily, because you can find the same feel and just wiggle yourself on the ground to where you gotta be. So you don't have to get up and then move a bench, remove these, do all the rest of the rigmarole to find where you gotta be. So setting these up, you want to set them up just high enough that when you get into the bottom, you don't have your arm in a straight line with the cable. If you have these really set low, when you get into this bottom position, your arm from your shoulder to your hand and the cable are going to be nearly a straight line. Part of the point of setting this up and doing this movement in the first place is so that you load into the bottom position very heavily. If your arm and the cable direction are pretty much parallel, you're not really getting any loading there. That's how cables work. And so, if you're setting up with your arm pretty much straight to the cable in the bottom, it's going to be the opposite when you get to the top. You're going to have a near 90-degree angle between where your arm is and where the cable is, and that's going to make it super hard up here. And up here is the hardest position you can ever get to with your side delt. It doesn't help. So, you set it up high enough that in the very bottom, you have almost a 90-degree angle between your arm and the cable, and it allows you, if it's high enough, when you get to the very top, the cables don't actually touch your body, which is another problem. Tavish was just getting a little bit of that where it was touching him at the very, very top, but it's not really affecting him through most of the movement. So have that set that way, and then have the width of these. If you have a free motion functional trainer like this, set the width on this so that these are almost straightforward and parallel. That allows you, if you stand in this sit, lay down in the center of this, you have your arms down at your sides. Now, this cam is pretty much right here, level to you. That provides you the 90-degree angle. If you have them way out to the sides or super duper close, you're not gonna have that. It'll be the opposite. You'll have the straight arm to the cable, especially if these are close. If this is close and my shoulder's right there on the ground, this will be a straight line between where the cable comes out to my arm, which then creates the same problem we would have with these being in the wrong height.
But no, so I was just telling Nick that I don't have any shoulder pain. I usually get shoulder pain just doing one plate, and there's literally no sign of shoulder pain whatsoever.
Right off the get up, you want to have a strong grip. So like you setting up like this and then pulling it out, if your elbow has to tuck extra here because the bar is now behind your hand. So if it's straight up like this, you get to decide where your elbow goes based off of shoulder position. But now the bar is back here, that's a moment arm from your wrist. And now to compensate that, you have to tuck it here. Elbow pops forward more, your shoulder wants to elevate a little bit, and this path ends up being predetermined and you start having that shoulder pain.
Yeah, okay.
It can come from the grip. You'll also feel a little bit less stable unstable because the direction that you want to guide the bar in is not the direction the bar wants to move because it's cocked back in your wrist. And now you have to just like modify your path and the way your shoulders sit so you can get it down to depth and have it under control while you're moving. But if you set up and your grip stays stacked, you get to determine where it goes. It just goes where you want it to be. So you do that, like you set up, get your shoulders put in place. Now, laterally deviate the hand like this. Push the meaty part of your hand between your thumb and first finger into the bar as hard as you can while keeping your wrist straight. First finger over, squeeze into it with your thumb, and then wrap the rest. And now, if I press this up, my hand will cock back a little bit, but then I have a platform here where most of the pressure is on this side of my hand. My knuckles will stay pointing up to the sky like I'm punching the sky.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the bar will stay roughly directly over my wrist. There's no extra moment arm here where there's a distance between where my wrist is and where the bar is. That is an extra force vector that you need to manage if that's there. If you could reduce it as much as possible, you'll be better off. Okay?
Gotcha.
So again, and now for the working set, so I can actually show it. To pick it up, squeeze the shoulders together, and punch the sky, and then drag it over. Row it down, yes. Squeeze the bar, row it to your chest, yes. Row it down, strong grip, you got it. Yeah. Yes. We have both the barbell incline and the Smith in here. They're two different angles because honestly, we can't vary the angle on the set incline presses for the barbell, which is fine. But we have a lower incline angle on this. It's a little bit better for just directly pec, where that's going to be a little bit more front delt and tricep involved because of the angle that we're sitting at. But honestly, they'd be somewhat interchangeable as far as like getting an incline press in as a base movement. I have them both because I've just started to reintroduce the barbell version, and because it's been so long, and for Tavish too, it's been really long since he's done anything with a bar. I like doing big compound movements with free weights. They're not always ideal. Like the barbell isn't the ideal implement to use in all cases with all considerations, but really neither is the Smith. It's not perfect, but it hits most of the things that we need to hit so we can actually get something out of the base pattern. And having them both is so while we're trying to rebuild the skill and the ability to really exert ourselves to the greatest capacity we can, we're really not hitting the mark yet with a bar. So, because we need to build the skill for us to exert ourselves at our best capacity to actually get any progress out of it, we have that in first, and then we get the rest of our output done with this. And because our skill isn't developed well enough with the bar on its own, that really doesn't compete very much with the output on this. We're so far behind our skill development with the bar, we really aren't taking that much out of ourselves that's going to affect us here. So having them both in ends up getting us the skill exposure, and then it gives us a little bit more volume done, which is nice. And then it doesn't take anything from this. Later on, we may have to compensate volume of one or the other, or make a total removal of one or the other. But that'll be a decision made later.
It makes sense. Just rewatch that part like 6 times, it'll make sense. And anytime Nick talks, because I'll testify, like I didn't really get it the first week or two. I guess this is our 3rd week, And now that we're doing these sequences and these rotations, it makes perfect sense. It's like you were wasting your time doing any other routine, honestly. So, Gloff method.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, come on. Come on.
Zero pain.
Stop it. I had it up
Like, was it too high up?
last time, maybe a little bit. This is allowing me to tuck a little bit more. Got our buddy Jamal over there.
Jamal Jacoby. Come on. All the way.
Yeah!
All you. One. Hard. Right.
Good! Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
You just go right to where he said.
I did. I don't really feel like we need to have any warm-ups for this.
No, I did. They fuel. It was good.
It just moves. Row the weight down. Row it down. Yep. Good. Yes. Come on.
No. Like these machine presses, I have to sit lower, or else I'm almost sitting here. So if I raise it up a little bit. Good. No. Right.
You're not pressing straight out to the side. It's a little in front of you.
What's on the side?
So flare your lats. Flare out. Yep. Round chest. Now press out to the corners. There you go. You keep the palms facing down, and there it is. Yes. Pink corners of the room. Yep. Keep going. Yep. Proud chest. Prouder. Yep. Press them. Press them until you can. Lock it in, press straight down. Yeah.